Welcome to Talk a Good Game. It's match preview of West Ham United against Southampton, 18th against 20th in the Premier League. Gonzo, what's your thoughts on the Saints, please?
It seemed like a club at the time has caught up with them, really. It seems like that, really. Year upon year of selling the family silver, I think, has sort of cost them. I think there was a few years ago, the owner died. His daughter took over. She didn't quite have the same appetite for it, it seems, looking from the outside in. They used to have a wonderful infrastructure there with regard to recruiting players, bringing players through the academy. I would suggest that actually a lot of that still remains. I don't think there's an awful lot wrong with their recruitment, but they certainly had a strategy in terms of their managers. Everybody seems to be pulling in the same direction at the club, from the owner to the recruitment manager, the sporting director, and the academy, the recruitment, the scouting staff. You really did feel that they were a club working in unison. And actually, they could deal with the odd sale here or there. Well, it's even the odd sale here or there. Go back to Ricky Lambert and stuff like that. A producer player, your player would come through, they'd go out, and young players like Gareth Bale would leave, or Theo Walcott, and it was just some from the academy. Some they would bring in, like Sadio Mane, and they would move him on. And I just look at it now, and I just feel that the whole club is not pulling in the same direction. There's probably not the same strategy with recruiting the managers that there used to be. So I don't know if that's because it's fragmented. The recruitment team still seem to be doing okay, because we'll speak about the players in a minute. They're still able to bring in, and they do identify good players, I feel. But I do believe that Father Time is starting to catch up with them, really. And they've sold. I think they've got rid of too many people at the club, including players, for too long, and now it's catching up with them.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with much of what you said there, really. I think one of the hardest things in football is getting the right infrastructure, the right people in the right place at the right time. It's a very, very difficult thing. And I think sometimes as fans, and I include myself in this, of course, that I think we assume it should be easier than it actually is, kind of thing. But certainly a few seasons ago, Southampton looked like they'd done it. They looked like they'd almost cracked it. How to be not one of the biggest clubs, not one of the clubs loaded of cash, but how to really stretch your budget almost. This is how you do it, kind of thing. Like you said, the conveyor belt and stuff. And it felt like they had a really good setup there. Like I said, even during COVID, I remember Hasenhüttl sort of ripping up the blueprint and stuff, even from the youth team all the way up to the first team. It's like, this is how we're going to train. This is how we're going to work. This is how we're going to play. And it goes all the way down to the kids at Southampton. And this is it. We're all going to be in the same. But the one thing I imagine is harder than doing the right people, right place, right time, right infrastructure is maintaining it. I'd imagine that is incredibly difficult. Having all those plates spinning at the same time is very, very hard. All it takes is sometimes just one key person to leave, and it all comes crashing down. Domino effect. One thing starts going wrong, then the next thing starts going wrong. And before you know it, you are where Southampton are today, which is, I wouldn't say their lucks ran out. I would just say that they perhaps got a little bit unlucky that they weren't able to capitalize on the things that they did right years ago. A bit like what Brighton are at the minute. Brighton are at that bit now. It's like, well, are they going to push on, or are they eventually going to start falling off a little bit? And Southampton, like you said, maybe just bit off a little bit more than they can chew. And here they are in a massive relegation battle. Obviously, Gonzo, 3 managers for them this season, onto the third one. And Nathan Jones was a bit of a disaster. But what are you making of their managerial turnaround, especially after giving Hasenhüttl what felt like a very long-term manager for the Premier League?
Yeah, Hasenhüttl, he had a bit of Alan Pardew-itis, really. He could have some really good streaks, and they would look excellent. And streaky, but basically what I'm saying, streaky manager. The guy that came in from Luton, what's his name again?
Nathan Jones.
Yeah, bit weird, I've got to say. Listen to a few press conferences. Very
mental. He was just mental.
Very full of himself, actually. I've got to say, I'm not saying a bit of belief. Mourinho's got belief, but he's got a bit of a twinkle in the eye, hasn't he? Some bit cheeky with it. I think you get the impression that half of it with mind games and the said in jest and all the rest of it, you got the impression, I don't know, that this was, quite an aloof, an arrogant guy. So I don't know how that played out with the fans. Probably didn't play out particularly well with it clearly didn't play well with the ownership, because they ended up getting rid of him. But I guess the thing is, if you're going to be that cocksure, you're going to be that arrogant, you're going to be that aloof, and you're going to try and take everybody on, you can do, but you better win. all the time. Otherwise, you're just not going to get away. You're not going to get that extra bit of leeway that maybe a nice guy who's embroiled himself and got, really sort of absorbed himself in the club is going to receive that little bit of extra leeway. We will find out, won't we? We haven't changed our manager. Other teams have. That's where we're going to find out. We're going to find out if West Ham and Nottingham Forest and other teams that might not have changed their managers. One more, its name's Leicester. Thank you. If we us three stay up and all the others that have chopped and changed go down, we'll know. I'm not sure it's going to be that cut and dry, just like all the ones that sacked to go down. But it'd be interesting to see. We ultimately we don't know whether it's worked yet, but you'd imagine they can't keep on like this. If they do stay up, they want to get something more solid in place to get back to the old Southampton. Otherwise, they're going to become a Watford, and that's not particularly good.
Yeah, gamble and kind of get it. I think that's been the theme with me for Southampton for a few seasons now, with the decisions they've made, whether it be selling players or buying players. And that is probably how I would relate to the managers this year. Sacking Hasenhüttl, a bit of a gamble, but I kind of get it. It felt a little bit stale. Felt like it was getting a little bit boring. A bit like what Brendan Rodgers is at Leicester now. It just felt a little bit like they needed fresh ideas. I got it. Nathan Jones coming in again, a gamble. I kind of get it, though. He was doing quite well in Championship. He'd done a good job of Luton, but there was very little evidence to suggest that, well, actually, there was no evidence to suggest that he could come into a relegation battling Premier League side and keep them up. And from day one, he was just off his rocker. It's not just arrogance, like you said. I mean, like you said, you better win. Well, at least Mourinho already had the CV to say, well, I can be arrogant because look what I've achieved. I mean, at one point, he was sat there saying he was one of the best managers in European football because of what he'd done with Luton and stuff. And then he started talking about how he could have just been a PE teacher and found himself a nice Welsh girl, but he didn't want to do that. And it's just like, what are you on about? You're just barmy. Like, I think I'd have loved to have been in for one of his team talks, because if he comes out with that in the public domain, what's he like in private? I don't know. It was just chaos from start to finish. They had to admit their mistake very, very quickly. And now Sellers has taken charge till the end of the season. I've only seen a couple of games under him. They've certainly improved in a lot of capacity. They look hungrier, they look fitter, they look more intense, and they've got a bit more of a game plan. But you do just wonder if it's a little bit too little too late for them, because time is running out for Southampton, that's for sure. And while they've improved, their results have still not quite good enough, kind of thing. They will continue what they're doing for the rest of the season. They're probably going to go down, so he's going to have to improve further, starting on Sunday against us, really. Quick question then, will they survive?
Next two games, I looked at the league just before we broke up for the international break, and I looked at all the teams. Crystal Palace down, and I just looked at the next two games for everyone. I thought, oh wow, this is going to be really telling. That if they lose against us, their game after, I think, was Man City, they're down. They'll be down. No, but I think the same of us. I think if we lose against Southampton, and then we got off Newcastle, whatever. I think we're down. I think next two games are crucial, and I think that's the case for all that. We're gonna find out an awful lot about our teams over. Well, I say the next 2 weeks, because we're playing Wednesday as well, aren't we? So is everybody else playing midweek as well?
Most teams. There's some teams aren't, but a lot of them are.
Well, we're next week. We'll be sat here next week doing a video next week. We're going to know so much more. So I mean, every chance of going down, but so do we.
I think they will. Even if they beat us on Sunday, I still think they'll go down. I just think if there was 15 games to go, maybe I'd say, oh, they might just do it. They might just have enough about them. But I don't know. I just don't think there's enough time. They played a couple of games more than us as well, which certainly doesn't help them. So I just think there's maybe just a little bit too much to do. And if they were 18th at the minute, and there was like a really crap team like they usually is, rooted to the bottom of the table, then perhaps. But there isn't. There's three teams, like you said, from 8. There's 3 teams from 8 going, and Southampton at the minute have to be favourites. They're bottom of the league, and they did well to come back from against Spurs to get the draw to make it 3-3. But they're still bottom of the league, and that's with a really good result on paper. So I think the Saints will be one of the 3 that go down. And I'm not saying that we won't be. I'm just saying that I think the Saints will be one of those that do go down. Players you admire?
Well, I like Sally Sue, as we know, and I like the other one that came in, Ketchup.
Bella Ketchup.
Yeah, it's definitely not Ketchup.
He's saucy, isn't he?
He is saucy. I'll leave the midfielder to you, but I also do really like him. But it was actually, I'd say, somebody I did see who came in at the same time as him. So I think they got 2 from Man City. I might be wrong.
They got 4.
Did they really?
Yeah,
Wow.
they got 4, plus they took Shields as well. I don't know what he did there, but they took him, and he was the reason that those 4 came. Then Shields buggered off to Chelsea after about 2 months, and then they went and got Jason Wilcox. They went and got Wilcox from Man City.
I didn't know. I know it's Lavia, isn't it?
Lavia, Bazunu. There's a guy called
Adozi is the one I would like to talk about.
And there's another one I'm not really seen. I think his name's Lourdes or something. I'm not really.
Okay, yeah. And I'm not saying Adozi is as good as Lavia. We're a completely different position. And Lavia's taken all the plaudits, but this other guy, I watched him. Amazing, really, really talented player. They must have some great players in the academy at Man City because they keep hemorrhaging and they sign for other clubs. We won't see him. He won't feature. He won't play. But you say players I admire. He's possibly the one young player I've seen this season who I'd never heard of. Wow, look at him. He's really, really good. I did actually know about Lavia a little bit because my son signed him on the computer, And he turned out and captain. He ended up captaining West Ham. If you want to know actually what happens, that wasn't in real life though. But I think he ended up captaining West Ham, and then he got sold to Bayern Munich for 89 million. That didn't actually happen, but yeah. So, but they got a lot of good players there, Gio.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Walker Peters. I've been since he joined Southampton. Really, every time I watch them, he impresses me, and he's one of those players I would just love at West Ham. I just think the way that he plays as a right back is a way I like to see a right back play. I've always been a fan of him. Bella Kachap as well, someone I've liked. I think he's a bit of a doubt for this weekend, which is good. And Salah seems to like Bednarek for some reason, which is arguably good for West Ham as well. Yeah. Che Adams, I wasn't going to mention him, but just because Scotland beat Spain, I just thought I'd throw Che Adams in there. He didn't even play, he was injured, but I don't care. We beat Spain. I'm happy about it. But the last player, like you said, is Lavia. I think he's just absolutely mustard. I think he's absolute class. When he arrived and played a few games, and there was talk of Chelsea verbally offering 50, 60 million or something, after about 3 games, you thought they're off their head. But actually, the more you see of Southampton, you do just think, wow, okay, I can get it now. I can get why Chelsea want him ASAP, because City have got buyback clauses on all 4 players that they've sold to Southampton. You'd imagine 1 or 2 of them might get triggered at some point in the future. And, even if Southampton stay up, I don't think he'll be at Southampton next season. I think he's off to a Champions League club in the summer, but just some talent. And then obviously a notable mention for Ward-Prowse is always, if Southampton do stay up, it's because of Ward-Prowse. I think this season he's always been good at free kicks and whatever, but the last few weeks he just seems to have really stepped up and taken responsibility a little bit, and it feels a little bit Payet-esque when we had him at West Ham. It was like you get a free kick, you just thought, oh, here we go, and it's a bit like that with Southampton at the minute. The last thing I want to do is have Soccer Saturday on a Saturday afternoon and hear that Southampton have a free kick in a dangerous position. I fear the worst. Oh, bloody hell, I know what's going to happen here, don't I? Ward-Prowse will bend it in. But he does feel like he's taking this relegation battle by the scruff of the neck. And I'm looking at our team thinking, where's our player that's doing this then? Because Southampton have got Ward-Prowse that's rolled his sleeves up and said, let's drag this team out of the bottom 3. And I look at West Ham saying, where's our player dragging them out of the bottom 3? We don't really have that.
He did try to side him, to be fair.
Yeah, wish we did now. I might have pushed Southampton down. But we'll talk about West Ham.
Yeah.
Quick bit of team news is pretty much everybody's available. Lucas Fabianski's back in training and maskless. Antonio missed the game against Aston Villa. He remains a doubt until we've got clarity from David Moyes. Vladimir Soufal was out, but played during the international break, so he's available for West Ham as well. So David Moyes might have a full squad available for selection. Now, this is obviously pending David Moyes' press conference, but for the sake of the preview, Gonzo, everybody's available for you to select for the team that you would like to see on Sunday afternoon. So let's talk about the team we think will beat Southampton. Who would you like to see go?
Areola, no doubt about it at all. I've just seen everything that I need to see in the last few games in terms of the distribution. And what really sealed it to me was the point where he was being fouled and he stumbled over and he still tried to distribute the ball quickly. It makes such a difference. I would suggest when he does it, we get into the opposition's territory, if you want, 2 or 3 seconds quicker than when Fabianski, claims the ball and has the ball in hand. That's significant. And I don't know if that's probably not a stat that you see. And I just made it up. That's why. But you don't see it recorded. Do you know what I mean?
Gonzo.
Yeah, but I see it. You can see it with your own eyes. He just gets rid of the ball quicker. We're on the attack quicker. Well, you know what? If we're on the attack quicker, then their defense can't be. It's got 3 seconds less. Or I might be wrong with 3 seconds, but it's definitely quicker. So yeah, for me, Areola in goal.
Yeah, Areola for me as well. I'm still a little bit wary about him. I mean, Fabianski got called Flappyanski at Arsenal, but actually I think Areola's more flappy than Fabianski is, ironically. We somehow got rid of the guy that's a bit uncertain at crosses and got someone even more uncertain at dealing with corners. But apart from that, I think he's...
Different goalkeeper, but we still got flaps.
Yeah, it's quite. But his distribution, like you said, is a big factor. Southampton under Sellers have been pressing high. When I watched them against Leicester and Man United, I sort of saw a bit of their game against Man United. And they're pushing high. They're really pressing the goalkeeper as well. So you need your keeper to be good with the ball at his feet against this Southampton team. Talk me through your back four, please.
We will have Soufal, who I'm assuming is fit. Well, number one, because you just said it. And number two, because he went away, didn't he, for international break. Did he play? Do you know?
Yeah, he played.
Okay. So I'll play Zuma and a Gerd. Hopefully a Gerd and Areola have both been working on brushing up on their French so they can talk to each other. And actually Zuma as well. It's nice little chat between the three of them. And then I would play Emerson at left back. Even
more French at left back. He can speak French. He played for Lyon.
Of course he can. They're very these players are very.
Saval's left out at the back there, isn't he?
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, he's got English and Czech. I mean, a girl speaks five languages. What?
And a threatening language.
Oh, aggro. Yeah. Czech, English, and aggro. Yeah.
I completely agree with you back four. By the way, I think it's self-explanatory, and I think it actually picks itself. This back. I'd be surprised if Moyes didn't play that as well. Actually, it's not often I sit here and we do this, and I think it's going to be what we're going to see. Actually, I do think that will be the back four that we see on Sunday. Perhaps not so much in midfield, though. Would you like to see lining up in midfield for the Hammers?
Central midfield, I go Rice and Paqueta.
And in that number 10 role, or are you going
to? There's
no
number 10 role, my friend. There's no
spoiler.
There's no number 10.
All right then. Well, let's go through the rest of your team then. Bowen on the right, Benram on the left, and up front,
Cornet on the left.
I forgot about him.
Did you? Yeah. Well, and so you should. So you should forget about Cornet. We've barely seen him. Quite right too. You have to be reminded that he's a West Ham player, but he is. He's back. I think he's nice and quick. I think he's direct, like a bit of direct running as well. I think if we're going to play two up front, which clearly I am, then he's the man for the job. I don't feel Benrahma's been in great form. I don't overly blame Benrahma for that, by the way. He has looked a bit better coming off the bench as well. I also think if Cornet's set back a little bit further, then he's going to be less likely to be caught offside. And then I just think I like the supply better for the front two, who are obviously Ings and Scamacca.
Yeah, interesting about the Cornet thing. It's got me debating it. I'm going to stick with what I've got for the sake of it. Well, because I'm quite stubborn. Rice, Paqueta and Fornals for me. I like how we've been playing with this 4-3-3 variation. I do like it. I think, yes, it blew up in our faces against Brighton, but against Aston Villa, I thought we played quite well against Aston Villa. Like I said, I wasn't disappointed about the performance of the players or anything. I was just disappointed about the substitutions and accepting the draw. But the formation, I feel, has been working. I think Rice has been playing better in that defensive midfield role. I think Paqueta has been playing well there. And I'd bring in Fornals because against Larnaca, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. And I think there has to be an opportunity where if you play, I know it's only Larnaca and they were crap, right? If you tune into our preview for the second game, you'll know what me and Gonzo thought. We said they were rubbish. They're the worst team we've seen this season, probably. They were poor. So you have to take it with that in mind. But there has to be some sort of a reward for performing against Larnaca to possibly getting in a Premier League team that's been underperforming this season. Paqueta, Fornals and Rice in the middle for me, with Bowen on the right, Benrahma on the left and Scamacca up front. The reason I've gone with Scamacca over Ings is just because the last couple of games, Ings he needs a strike partner, and the last thing I want to see is a 4-3-3 with Ings up front on Sunday. I say the last thing, it's not. There's other things I prefer not to see before that one. But even the game that he scored 2 goals in against Nottingham Forest, Ings wasn't involved in the game that much. All he did was score 2 goals, which is good, but
Sure.
he was still isolated for large periods until he scored that first goal. The first half, he was completely ineffective. We didn't get anywhere near him whatsoever. So I think if we're going to play Ings, and Southampton fans will be watching this going, absolutely right here, which is if you're going to play Ings on Sunday, you've got to go what you're wanting, which is more of a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-2-2. You want to look at it like that, which is how Southampton will probably play as well. So yeah, Scamacca for me, just because, like I said, I don't want to see Ings up front on his own. And actually, I thought Scamacca looked good against Larnaca as well. And if I trust somebody to score something out of nothing, which is what we're doing at the minute, because we're not creating enough chances, then I think Scamacca's the most likely candidate to do that. Anyway, Gonzo, huge game. I know sometimes we perhaps are a little dramatic, and at times I think we play it down. But I think for this one, there's no doing either of those things. It's a massive, massive game, not just for West Ham, but Southampton as well.
Yeah, I mean, it really is something. Well, it's funny actually. I was just thinking, something's got to give for somebody. You could almost see it. But yeah, as I say it, the life drains out of me. You could see it almost being a draw, which would just be horrendous. I guess a loss would be more horrendous. The reason I said that, and the reason I probably went pale as the thought process was going through my mind, was actually the thought of David Moyes playing for a draw here. Actually, as I had the thought, I thought, he could do that. Actually, Moyes could do that. I mean, he shouldn't, but he might.
He can because of the situation we're in, but also the squad at his disposal. He's not going to have this squad available to him again this season. The chances are when we play Newcastle on Wednesday, there'll be 1 or 2, maybe not the starting 11, there'll be 1 or 2 players will knock, or certainly by the end of April, bear in mind we play every 3 days or something in April. By the end of April, we're going to be missing people. We're going to be a few bodies down due to injuries. We have to capitalise on this full squad. This next 7 days from Sunday, we've got Southampton at home, Newcastle at home, Fulham away, who are obviously missing Mitrovic as well that day. That is 3 massive games. And it's a huge if we can get 7 points, I wouldn't see us safe per se, but I'll tell you what, it'll put us on the road to being not far off from being safe. It's a massive, massive week. He cannot play for a draw. When you look at the players that we haven't mentioned, which is we don't want to see start, think about what the bench is going to look like on Sunday as well. So let's take your team. On the bench, you can have Antonio, you can have Ben Rama, Lanzini, Fornals, Thilo Kehrer, who's just played for Germany, Ben Johnson, Ogbonna, Creswell, full of experience, Flynn Downs, Souček, loads of experience. You've got international players sat on that, a whole bench of international players. There's no excuses for this one as far as I'm concerned.
And a couple of goalkeepers, of course.
Well, you might only have one. We've got that many players available.
Yeah, never know. Yeah, it is massive. It is a huge, huge game, Geo. It really is. And, I can only hope that somehow the bad vibes of the past few days, the stories, the leaks, the rumours have resonated some way with him, that he thinks, okay, I'm not going to be able to bully boy my way into this. I hope there's been some flexibility with him. I've had a clear the air meeting. I hope that there's something like that can just maybe lift the morale of the camp, because I think that's as important as anything. I think if the morale of the camp is low and he decides I'm going to sit back against Southampton for 60 minutes and then you get a frustrated stadium, then you absolutely would, because we've just had enough of it. Then I think we're on the road to damnation, if you like. But he's got to lift the spirit of that squad. He's got to go for the game. He's got to try and lift the crowd a little bit as well. I mean, if he could do that, then we can do something in this game, no doubt about it.
I'm incredibly nervous. I'm really nervous. I'm nervous for. Do you know something? I'm even nervous for his press conference because it'll just set the tone like 2 days before. And I'm even nervous to hear what he's being said, even the Southampton one as well. If Salah comes out guns blazing in his press conference, it's going to make me feel a little bit uneasy. I'm nervous for the lineup coming out. I'm just riddled with nerves for this game because I'm not looking forward to it whatsoever. I want to, and I'm trying to, but I'm not. It's just because it's such a huge game, this one. We could. I don't care. I would love to see us play good football and win convincingly 2-0 or something. At this point, I'm not even bothered. Just the scrappiest 1-0 will do. It's a needs-must situation. And 3 points is all that matters on Sunday afternoon, especially with Bournemouth playing Fulham as well. Obviously, Willian missing that game, Mitrovic missing that game. If they get something against Fulham and we lose, we go 20th. Sunday night will be 20th in the Premier League. This is a bad situation. It's making me fearful.
Yeah.
Are you confident?
No, not confident. I don't think you can be. I think any confidence would be naive and would be false at the moment. And anyone says that they're confident, that's not. I think it's just confusing confidence with hope. Because to have confidence, you're going to have some body of evidence, and there isn't none. You're probably going to have closed your ears to a lot of the noise that's gone on. But I am hopeful. I do see a way for us to win this game. I really do. And I know I get this wrong constantly. And what I get wrong constantly is my judging how people are going to act. And when I say people, I mean David Moyes and David Sullivan. And I can't quite shift from that because I can't believe that David Sullivan wouldn't have done. So forget David Sullivan. I can't believe that David Moyes wouldn't have known what's gone on in the last couple of weeks and have enough personal pride, not so much pride that it makes him stubborn, but enough about him, enough desire to want the team to do well that he wouldn't have rectified some of it. I can't believe that goes. I just can't even imagine that would happen. He would have to identify it as a problem. I don't want to go into any details, but if he thinks there's a problem with one or two of his coaching staff, speak to them, deal with them. If he thinks the players are lacking motivation, motivate them. If he thinks that there's, some people are a little bit down, a little bit depressed, lift their spirits because he needs West Ham to stay up. And I can't imagine it any other way. And I hear all the noise and all the theories of why that wouldn't happen. And I've heard it all. I've read it all. David Moyes wants to take us down and Sullivan wants to take us down. I've heard it all, but I just don't think that. So I think if I believed that he would have rectified some of the mistakes in the last 2 weeks, and yeah, I know someone will probably come back and say, well, hold on a second, he had all the World Cup and he didn't rectify anything. And I know I got that wrong as well. But I think we can do it and I think we can beat them. But he must have done stuff. And for that reason, am I confident? No, but I am hopeful.
Yeah, I'm relatively optimistic, actually. And I think post-World Cup, we've not been disastrous. There has been an improvement, I think. There's been a new role for Paqueta, for example. There has been glimmers of hope, I think. But that Brighton performance in particular was one that knocked all the stuffing out of me a little bit. The second half against Tottenham as well. And then the sort of acceptance to take a point against Aston Villa. All that just drags you down a little bit. It drags your hopes down. But I'm trying to sort of, perhaps a little bit naively, like I said, just think, well, actually, some players have been in good form. And, against Villa, I thought we were the better team. And we could have went. And that's why I was frustrated we didn't try and win that game, because I thought we were the better team. I thought they were there for the taking. When they got beat by Southampton, Thomas Franks is a good manager, but he completely done Sellers tactically. He just basically said, you want to press tough, we're going to get the ball, and we're just going to go long. We're just going to find Ivan Toney with a long ball, and we're not going to let you press us. We're not going to try and play it out defence and you might catch out. We're not going to bother with that. We're just going to go direct. And it just completely bypassed Southampton's tactical game plan to some extent, and Brentford ran out comfortable 2-0 winners in the end. So while I don't know loads about Sellers as a manager, I can only judge him by what I've seen at Southampton, which is 6 games, and I haven't even seen all those 6 games. Moyes won't get an easier manager to play against this season in terms of sort of inexperience in the Premier League or whatever. I'm quite optimistic because he just seems to win these games, David Moyes. He just seems to whenever there's something whenever he's on the brink of losing his job or whatever, he just seems to get the win and it just restarts that period. Yes, I'm clutching at straws, but that's my honest thoughts. Can I get any final words from yourself, Gonzo, as well as your all-important score prediction, please?
Yeah, it's going to be really nervous, really nervous for everybody. It's going to be nervous watching. It's going to be nervous being around on the Saturday, isn't it? We're going to have our tellies or our radios on or whatever the case may be and keeping an eye on those other results. So I don't think there's any way to escape that. You'd normally say, West Ham are playing late on a Sunday. At least they can't ruin my weekend. Well, you know what? I think we're in for that anyway when all the other results start to come in. So that's going to be hard. It's going to be hard if you're in the stadium. David Moyes has got to give these players a lift. He has got what you said there about, it's sort of dragging you down. He has to understand that's part of his job as well. His job is to motivate a football club and motivate a fan base. And he's got everyone feeling pretty damn miserable at the moment. In fact, the only person we haven't heard from is a tea lady. He's probably turned around to her and said, "It's a crappy cup of tea you make here, love." But aside from that, that conversation probably never happened. I'm sure she makes a lovely cup of tea. Point is, he needs to lift the spirit around the club. He really does. If we do that, I think we can win. And I think we can score some goals. I really do. I think West Ham can win this game 2-0.
I'm going to say 2-1. A nervous ending to that game. I'm not looking forward to it already, but I'm going to say 2-1. And, if the results do go in our favour this weekend, one way or another, that win could be massive. You take you out of the bottom three, you start to think, oh, hang on, here you go. You go into the Newcastle one with a bit of spring in your step. The stadium's a little bit better on Wednesday night. Everton play Monday night. Put the pressure on them. If we can win this and whatever, put the pressure on them. Get them back into that bottom three and say, there you go. Now you do your bit, kind of thing. This next 7 days from Sunday is massive for West Ham, for Southampton. Like you said, the next 2 games, next week in football in the Premier League is huge for a lot of teams. If we can come out of this with 7 points, which is wishful thinking, then I'll be feeling really confident about staying up. Am I confident about getting the 7 points still? Not really, but I do think we might kick it off with a win on Sunday, which will hopefully give us something to cheer about. But anyway, if you enjoyed this preview, please do drop a like on it, subscribe to Hammers Chat. Myself and Gonzo. We'll catch you in a bit.